What's going on, man?
Not much. How are you, my friend?
Good, dude. Hey, we're back for episode 3 of we've rebranded though. We couldn't get through 3 episodes of a show with the same name because, quite honestly, whenever I came up with that, uh, I hated it more and more as each time I heard it or read it. So
I definitely approve of what's your rebranding here that you've come up with.
yeah, Club 409. I love it. So I'm not ever gonna get sick of it either.
So this is in reference to one of our spring break trips in Bloomington for Ice Hockey Conference.
Yeah.
Me and Tom were sitting in a room just drinking some beer, and people are asking like, "Hey, Bink and Tom, where are you guys at?" And we're like, "Oh, we're in Club 409." Well, lo and behold, it's my room number. So
And what's kind of ironic about that is our topic for tonight is we were sipping on some stouts.
yeah,
I believe we probably did we probably did an Abraxas, I would imagine.
yeah, I brought Braxis and I brought some stouts from Side Project.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, 409 it is, man. And I kind of put you to task and said, what are we talking about? Give me a style, give me a topic, doing whatever. And you came back in no time with stouts,
One
and
word.
yeah, that's it. I love it. We kind of talked a little bit before, just in general of our love of beer, just to kind of, kind of put a frame around this one, with, Bourbon County and, some of those world class, like really famous stouts. And we got into it a little bit, but we're going to kind of do a deeper dive into that. So, I know the Bourbon County thing for you was kind of like your foray into it, but do you remember any others that really jumped out at you initially as to, man, I really love this style?
Guinness. Guinness was my thing that brought me to stouts. My dad loved them, and I remember her sneaking sips off of his beer. He's like, just try the creamy head on the top, and then it was take that, and then all right, I'm gonna take a sip, take two, take three, just and after that, I fell in love with Guinness, and Guinness is such a thin stout now, but it's still that it brings me back to I just love it. I love
Yeah,
Guinness.
it's weird. It's Guinness, and it's what is Guinness? I believe sits at the same ABV as like a Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Light,
Yeah, but
4.2.
so much flavor.
Right, very flavorful. And the thing I've always loved about Guinness, and I've never been here. I'll say this: I've never been a huge Guinness fan, but I do love the car bombs.
No,
I do love the occasional Guinness around St. Patty's. That's just I do. I have a couple in my fridge now, and I may have one later. But the thing I've always loved about it is that creamy, foamy head just stays there, and it's almost unlike any other beer.
Well, it is.
It's
In my about 10 years back, I had a kegerator or a refridge and took out all the guts and made it a giant kegerator. And I had Guinness, and I had to get the special European tap and had to get the nitrogen blend. This way you get the creamy head on it. And I would just go out there. It'd be right by my door. I'd open the door, pour Guinness, and just sit and enjoy.
That's awesome, man. I'll say this, like I never really, I don't know, like I said, I was never really a huge fan. Initially that just wasn't my thing. Wasn't I think when a lot of people were drinking Guinness, I was still focused on drinking Yingling and very very kind of in a box. I didn't really branch out too much. I was starting to, and I'd had Guinness, just really didn't appreciate it until I got older.
Yeah.
But kind of fast forward some time, and
How about
now
you? What was your kind of first stout that you really remember?
Probably the first one I actually had was probably a Guinness. And if it wasn't a Guinness, it was one of those very typical English, one of those
Samuel Smith type things.
Right, like the chocolate stout or something like that. That's just very common. I'll be honest, I kind of avoided them for a long time just because I didn't like it. It just wasn't really my. I say I didn't like it. That just wasn't my. It wasn't what I was going after. And even when I really started to get into the beer scene, if you will, I was more focused on pretty much what everyone else is when they dive in. It's like, oh, the IPAs, and then I start branching from there. And then it really wasn't until, gosh, probably about 10 years or so ago, and I cracked into like a 13 Bourbon County and was like, all right, I'm back. I'm sold. I'm in it, and I haven't looked back. So like that was one of those things where it was just like I needed that, to say, okay, hey, there's this whole other world of beer.
Right.
Kind
of interesting you said 10 years ago. 10 years ago kind of changed when I really drink in stouts too. Is I always liked stouts, but I liked them cold. And my buddy had one out and he's like, I'll just pop this. So I popped it and we drank it warm. And I'm like, I prefer it warm. And because all those flavors come out. And now that I think about like that, it's like, you had it so cold, they kind of hide the flavor of the stout. And as it warms up, it opens up. Well, I just popped a Willitized Lagunitas out of my, my beer thing. I'm drinking it right now. It's perfect. Perfect at room temperature, 70 degrees, whatever it is. And that's the way I drink stouts.
Yeah, you're the one that kind of turned me on to that. I was drinking really cold too, and that might have been one of the things that kind of turned me off on it. Now, I would go to going to breweries and stuff, and of course, I would always ask for, one of everything. I want to try it all. And every brewery, for the most part, has a tendency to just about pour nearly everything at the same temperature. Yeah, mainly because they're working out of the same refrigeration unit. It's unless you're getting something that's cask or you're getting something, special. It's all coming the same, and we're talking in that
there's
37
maybe 1 or 2 breweries that does it at temperature.
Right.
Side Project is one of those. But I completely agree with you. I would just order 2 beers. I'd order a stout and then I'd order an IPA, and I'd just sit there and let that stout warm up, or I put my hands around the bottom of the cup and just let it warm up.
I've seen you do that with the snifters time and time again. So, I think it wasn't until I learned that side of it that it really opened me up on. That's why I said like you and I kind of have this plethora of going back through and checking our decade long plus history of all the beers that we've tried in these last that long frame of time. Just before we started recording, you're like, well, I'm over 1,000 just in stouts alone, and I was just over 500. So that tells you, and not to say like we're a couple thousand apart, but between you and me, we're still talking 13, 14,000 check-ins here. So it's not like we're talking small numbers. So that's obviously one of those styles for you that obviously sticks out.
Oh yeah.
And has for quite some time. Whereas me, I'm just now getting that appreciation. So that's why whenever you ask me, like, what's the first ones? Like, I don't really know. I remember growing a fond appreciation for drinking dark beer, but more porter. That's where I picked it up with Yingling, drinking the porter and then drinking the black and tans. That's not a stout though. So that was my dark beer that I liked. I liked that. And now, fast forward to now, obviously looking back through some of these check-ins, it's like, yeah, these are some of my favorite beers ever.
Well, when I went back to Chicago after college, my buddy, we would go over to Goose Island, and Goose Island would do their release of Bourbon County, and they might bottle regular, but on tap would be their specials would be barley wine or coffee, and that's all they did. And this is going back 20 years now, and I've been drinking Bourbon County that long that I just love the taste of it. Enjoy how much a stout changes when you put it in a barrel, and how much it picks up, and how much flavor gets added to it. And Bourbon County, drinking it at the tap room up in Chicago is what kind of really put me on different stouts.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. I think we can talk about a bit is, and Bourbon County is not the only one. No. This is certainly one of those things that happens, but they're known for having on the label ages up to 5 years, and that's kind of unique in the beer world, because if you're talking your basic light beers that everyone else drinks, or the general public, I should say,
you don't want more than 5 months.
Yeah, so you tell me you try drinking a 5-year-old Miller Lite, just not going to happen. But a 5-year-old Bourbon County. Like I've got a 2019 sitting in my fridge right now, and I've had it waiting there. I bought it cold. I'm going to keep it cold, and when I pull it, it's going to warm up. But I'm going to do it next year because I'm going to hold myself to the 5 years and just see, because I've had several before, so I'm curious to see if there will be any difference.
Well, I got two that I need to drink this year. I have a 2013 regular and then a 2013 barley wine that I need to drink.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, 10 years is kind of, I think, my max on it where I need to have it. Those are the last two of the original small bottles that came out. Since then, they've gone to the bigger bottles.
Yeah, that's right. And the crazy thing too is and I guess now the neat thing over the last several years, you have these special releases of the bourbon counties where they're not just, we're not talking about just the variants. We're talking about these were aged in a Heaven Hill barrel. These were aged in, a Knob Creek or whatever.
And those were kind of like the hidden Mickeys in Disney, because when they were released in Chicago, we didn't know. And they came in the small 4-packs again the past 2 years. And I grabbed one, my buddy grabbed one. And then all of a sudden I read an article of like, hey, there might be other bourbon counties in special barrels in Chicagoland area. So I'm like, all right. So I looked on the back of it and it said HH. I'm like, I have a Heaven Hill. He looked on the back of his and it had W for Willet. My other buddy, he had a 4-pack and didn't have anything on it. So it was just regular. It wasn't barrel aged in one of the special barrels. And then you had to go hunting around Chicago to find those other variants. Just going to liquor stores and looking on the back of the bottle to see if it said WW or whatever,
Right. And that's what cracks me up. Even around here, whenever that came out, that you basically, it was like an Easter egg hunt. You're looking at the back of the label to see if it has that W or the HH or whatever it may be. And I would routinely go into the ones even down here, and all the bottles would be turned around because and he knew exactly what people were doing.
Yeah,
they were looking for that special, HH or whatever designation on there.
Yeah. And then when we were in Bloomington, I found one that I hadn't had before, so I picked that up and I just drank it this past week.
Yeah, that you found. Then we pick up a 4 of the.
4 was the Heaven Hill one.
Heaven Hill one, yeah, that was really good. Which is surprising because really think about it, pretty much anything else with Heaven Hill. Exactly. This cracks me up. But now, and I got to thinking, I was looking through on tap too, and just thinking locally. And I remember you got me one of these. And I looked it up, and it was the White Rooster, the Omerta.
Omerta from White Rooster, yeah.
Yeah, and even talking about just solid stouts. That's up there with probably one of my favorite beers just of all time. And it's
just like breakfast in a bottle.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous, super smooth. And they're known for quite a few though, aren't they? Other than just the Omerta
sours, pretty much.
Yeah. And that's just that's a local joint for you. It's a little further for me, but localish, I guess.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
it's closer for you. Is there any that like really just outside of Bourbon County that just speaks to you at top of the game?
From Pipeworks. Pipeworks has done a lot of good stuff. Whether it be IPAs, stouts, sours a little bit, but they do a raspberry. They do an abduction series, and it's a raspberry truffle abduction. And me with raspberries and beer, I just it's my favorite. And this style of beer, it just puts over top, and I just love it. Absolutely love from Pipeworks. And I go back to my home, Chicago. I mean, Revolution does some amazing stuff. They're kicking out some great barrel-aged stuff.
Don't they do? I could be wrong. Wasn't the Death Tar?
Yeah, they do Death Tar, VSSO, Cafe Death, Coca Death. Just a number of different ones from Revolution that are just so good.
That's right. It's Death. It's actually it's Death Star, but it's Death's with an apostrophe. Yeah. So it says, I always thought it was just Death. Yeah, that makes more sense now. But they and they kind of put a kind of point of what we're really diving into here for just kind of new to the beer scene or unfamiliar with or not wanting to do stouts or whatever. These are really high ABVs typically. Like the Death Star one's close to 15%. And that's very common for a lot of these imperial stouts, if you will. But that one's an imperial oatmeal aged stout, bourbon barrels, and just very typical to have the chocolate profile, and then just like vanilla notes, stuff like that. And that's just very common for the high ABV stouts, and that typically is what I will typically go after and say, hey, look, these are some of my top tier beers. That's a good one. I've had that one.
And then another one out of Chicago that I really like too is from Vanilla Half Acre is Big Hugs.
Yes.
So they have, usually they'll have a variant where it's coffee or it's vanilla or they're barrel aged, and it's just they do some really, really nice stuff. But like stout wise, I would say Side Project puts out the best stuff I've ever had.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't disagree with you there. Other than the fact that you've hooked me up many times over the years with some perennial stuff, and so between the Sump and the Abraxas.
No, here's the thing with Sump and Abraxas. That is the owner of Side Project. That's his recipes because he was originally working at Perennial.
Oh, okay.
Those are his recipes, and he went and started doing stuff on the side in Perennial's thing. They're like, yeah, you can take this little area and you can do your own little side project. So that's how the name of Side Project.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Corey eventually he went out on his own, and he's just doing absolutely killer stuff. But Perennial, if it honestly wasn't for Corey, that's the guy of Side Project, they wouldn't have Abraxas, they wouldn't have Mommin, they wouldn't have their big beers that are the only thing that's probably keeping them around. And since then, Side Project has just gone through the roof on stuff that they have.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good. I didn't know that. That's awesome. That makes a lot more sense now, actually.
And there's actually a Side Project of Side Project. So the owner of Side Projects, like, you guys can take this area, brew what you want. You guys can have those recipes because he lost his recipes to Perennial.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, I will pay up the bill of how much everything costs. I'll take a percentage of it. You'll get a little percentage of it for you making the thing. But he goes, if you want to go off and make your own brewery and sell it, you take your recipe with you. So, I mean, that's almost unheard of in the beer industry.
Yeah, no kidding. Because once they stumble upon a good recipe, that's hard to leave hands.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's
really cool that he's doing that. Because
that's
all
awesome.
shared. So you can share out your stuff with your employees.
Okay, so yeah, you've given me some shared stuff before then. So okay, all right, that makes more sense now. So it's cool. That's interesting. I really do love all that stuff though. It's just so good. And every once in a while, I'll see it on at least the Sump. I'll see it on tap around here. It's a little more common than I think, but I've seen it a few times. But just hard. It's hard to get good stuff where I'm at. One thing I was going through my list of stuff, just stuff that I really liked, and you and I picked this up in December, was the barrel-aged Cocoa Krampus from Old Irving.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
That was a good one. And that's the other thing. That's the other note, too, I think, that tends to come out, too, in some of these Imperials is coconut. Tends to be a very popular one, and kind of lends itself very well. Actually, a couple of my favorites over the last couple of years have been that with going back to the I just lost it. There's another one that's had coconut in it that was really good. But I'm just going through. It's funny going through kind of the top rated down. I just realized I kind of went down into another level. One of the ones that I do, and I kind of forgot about, that really got me into drinking the heavier stouts was Dragon's Milk.
Oh yeah, Dragon's Milk.
I don't think Dragon's Milk gets. I mean, I think everyone knows it's good that likes it, but I think it's its due diligence. It's a top flight beer for something that
good price point too.
Right, it's a good price point. It's really easy to get, and we're talking just. And the nice thing is they do some interesting variants at times too. They release two or three a year. I think, is that what they're about at?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's.
I I belong to Funky Buddha Beer Society, and me and my buddy, his parents living down in the Keys, and they come back and they bring us our yearly supply, and we each get like basically one bottle. And I've shared one or two with you, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff that Funky Buddha is putting out, they're more pastry stouts, but just absolutely killer on what they do as well. There's one that I think I was like a hot chocolate one that I had from them, or maybe it was a Mexican chocolate, and it was just really, really good.
I think that you just said something that we need to kind of prove a point or bring a point here is that, we're talking about stouts, but then there's so many subcategories. And I'm not going to go name them all, but you're talking about coffee stouts and English stouts and all sorts of different kinds of imperials and, the Irish dry stouts like a Guinness, we've discussed pastry stouts and then oyster stouts.
Oh yeah.
There's
a brewery in Asheville that I go to when I'm there, and it's the Oyster House. So they have oysters and they have all these different styles of oyster stouts, and it's just a really, really cool place. Really good beer.
Yeah, there's been a couple. That's not one of those styles that like I've had a lot of. You don't see a lot of it for one. Mm-hmm. It's just I was trying to think. There was one. If I could find it. What was it? And I don't even know if it was a stout.
There's another one from Westbrook. It's their Mexican cake. And that is really good. It's like cinnamon, little spices, and a little bit of heat to it. It's just really, really nice.
Those
there's gingerbread stouts. I mean, there's so many things that people put in on marshmallows and candy bars and you name it.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you. I remember kind of, again, right at the tiptoeing into getting into the stout world and going back down. What's your take on like a milk stout, like a left hand does the milk, the nitros? Or
I prefer milk stout on nitro, but if I can't get on nitro, it's fine. It's nice and creamy. They're usually lighter on the stout edge. They're above a Guinness, but below a lot of the other stouts. Easy drinking. Now those I don't mind cold.
Right. They tend to be a little sweet too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And I think I like those, but then I kind of go back in my head. It's like I can only drink maybe one or two.
Yeah.
I can't drink a lot because it's almost like drinking. You have a bowl of cereal, and it's like drinking the
leftover milk.
Yeah. Off of a Cocoa Pebbles or something, because it's got that kind of residual sweetness to it. That's it's good.
Mm-hmm.
You really love it, but it's like can't overdo it here.
There's actually a milk stout that I had that was Cocoa Pebbles.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it was milk stout was brewed with cocoa.
Did it actually taste like it, or
it tasted pretty damn close? It was really cool.
Kind of going back through some of the ones that
I could sit down and drink Guinness all day. If like I was at a bar watching college football, like I know I could have Guinness all day and be okay because it's light,
right?
And it's a good flavor. I couldn't sit down and have 4 Bourbon Counties in a day. I'd be either in the ER or passed out on the
floor. You might be able to handle it. I don't know.
I've done 3 once, and I don't remember the rest of the day.
Oh, man. Let's go through. Oh, here's another good brewery that I think neither of us have mentioned yet. Prairie Artisan does a couple good ones.
Oh, Prairie Bombs.
The Bombs, yep.
Mm-hmm.
They're excellent. That's a top level stout to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know about you, but
yeah, always good quality. You know what you're going to get. They do a lot of good, even collabs with other breweries with the bombs.
Yeah, the problem with those
bomb is one of my favorites.
Their price point on those is usually pretty bad. So
yeah,
that's a tough one.
Usually buying one single bottle at a time.
Yeah. Those things typically for me anyway, they'll start around 11 or 12 for a 12-ounce bottle. It's that's a little hard to swallow at times. But it's good beer.
Once you start drinking, it's easy though.
Exactly. But another one I got thinking about that neither you or I have mentioned that had to be a kind of a gateway, KBS.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and look,
they used to be really hard to find.
Right,
KBS.
and now
they're coming out with variants. Like one beer that I really, really loved was CBS. And
Yes.
it's only come out a couple times, but I was fortunate enough to try it on tap at Founders in like 15, and they weren't bottling it at that time, and it was one of the best beers I ever had. There's so much maple in it.
Yeah, I've gotten CBS. I've either bought at least 1 4. I may have bought 2 because that was very easy to find here.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it was for a while. It was shelved, and where KBS wasn't. This was before KBS became the year-round thing.
Mm-hmm.
And CBS was sit on the shelf because no one knew what it was.
Yeah,
that's a good one though. The and it's funny. I have to go back on this because KBS stands for Test Your Knowledge here.
what is it?
You know what KBS stands for?
I thought it was Kentucky Bourbon Stout.
Yeah, I always thought it was Kentucky Breakfast Stout.
Oh, breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm pretty certain that's what it is. Yes, Kentucky Breakfast Stout.
Oh.
Well, years and years ago, a good friend of mine had made the comment, and this guy, when I say years ago, I'm talking about like 2001 or 2. He said, "It's a shame there's not more breakfast beers in the market." And yeah, look where we're at now. But yeah, KBS is one now. It's year round. And now they have different variants over time too.
Mm-hmm.
Fudge, cherry, whatever.
Yeah.
But again, it's kind of it's you kind of put like the unique ones like the Omerta or whatever kind of at the top, and then with your side project, your perennials or whatever, they're all like their plateau, Bourbon County. Then you kind of drop a level, to me anyway, to the KBS or the Dragon's Milk or
yeah. Now, to go back on that higher level, I would say some beers out of Florida that are absolutely killer. There's 3 breweries in Florida that are just killing it right now. It's Cycle, Angry Chair, and Cigar City.
Cigar City does good stuff anyway.
Cigar City has Hanapuno, which is absolutely amazing. It comes out in early April, and I was fortunate enough to be down there for spring break the one year, and they had 5 different variants of it. And my wife had to carry me out of their place. I was just manhandled. But Cycle and Angry Chair are other breweries down there that are just putting out amazing stuff.
One I failed to mention that I've had really good within the last several months. Triptych had an excellent stout on tap. It was called Forces Way Beyond Forgotten. Just amazing, really, really good.
Yeah.
And it I have a special thing with that brewery anyway, but it's just an excellent beer. And what kind of bothers me is that at times that place, their really good stuff I wish would get canned or bottled, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like taproom only stuff, so it's tough to come by. Trying to go through some of the hey, look,
I had a Nitro CBS in 2019 at Founders that also was really good.
It's funny. I just came across my check-in of CBS. Yeah, that's such a good beer.
Toppling Goliath has another brew. It's the Morning something or other, Morning Vibes or something, and it's just absolutely amazing. It's where you only get an allotment of like 1 bottle type thing, kind of like how Three Floyds does Death Tar. Was that no?
No, that's Rev.
Okay.
What does they do? Yeah, they do something though that's like a one-off. I can't remember what it is. It's funny. I'm drinking Three Floyds now. On our Stouts episode, I'm drinking a Zombie Ice. I didn't have any to go after, but no, I really was trying to behave anyway. Ooh, I forgot about this one. Do you remember? And this goes back several years now. Bell's Black Note Stout.
Oh, Black Note. I love Black Note.
Yeah, that was a good one.
The nice thing about that is they came in 4-packs, good price point, and just really, really good.
Yeah, if I recall, looking at my check-in here, the store that I go to, they put it. They have a tendency sometimes to put stuff out like after the fact, well after the fact. And that one, I believe, I picked up like 5 years after it.
Nothing wrong with that.
Going through. Oh yeah, here's another one we haven't mentioned yet. Utopias.
Oh yeah, that's beyond. That's a strong ale.
Yeah. I think
That's-
we've hit the 12 and 14s pretty hard, but yeah, the Utopias is a 17 or plus. So
Utopias is like four. Isn't it more than that?
17.3, I think it typically will be in the 17 to 18 range.
Okay.
As
I mean, I have a bottle in my closet. I could. Going back to Pipeworks, I saw one in here that I really love. S'more Money, S'more Problems. It's a s'more style beer. It's just really, really good and kind of that gives you sticky lips. You can only have one type thing,
right?
But just absolutely delicious.
And that's actually glad you brought that up. Those s'more stouts are great to me if they're stronger, because it balances out the sweetness. But the same point, I agree. Only one. The ones that are less alcohol content sometimes are a little too sweet for me.
Where it's like fake.
Yeah, a little too marshmallowy. You can easily tell it. It's almost like taking a. You remember the jars on the jar of the marshmallow? That would be.
Oh yeah, the marshmallow fluff.
Yeah. It kind of tastes like that,
and
it's. I'm not saying I hate it, but I can't drink a lot of it. Let's see. Just came across
funny, like I'm looking at my like highest rated beers, and it's basically like 4 or 5 breweries that are on here. You know, the other one that's on here that quite a bit too is Four Hands, and it's only the Madagascar. Madagascar is a good stuff. That's out of St. Louis as well.
Just came across the Mendy from Moore. That one, or the, let's see, Maplewoods Morbidly Obese Pig.
Yeah, Maplewood's good.
The Half Acre, the Benthic.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Those are good ones.
J.K. Wakefield's another good brewery.
Yeah, I just came across that one too. Oh, you know what? Here's one. Neither you or I are mentioned, and again, I haven't tried really anything of there. I don't even know if they've released this anymore. But the Stouts used to do the Abyss.
Yes.
Do they still release that? You know of?
No, they've kind of done more of the Dos of Edania series. And we had some of those when we were up there.
No, not the still. The Stouts from Oregon.
Oh, the Stouts. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Abyss. They would do those. Those were good. But I my check-ins on it, I haven't had anything since like 15 or whatever.
Yeah. There's another really good brewery up in Chicago called Begal, and they make pajama pants and just a stout, just barrel aged good stuff, and they do a couple of variants each year. Just quality beer.
Yeah, I think the point that we have driven home here is that Illinois is quality stout market. Think about that.
Yeah.
Bourbon County. You just mentioned Beguile.
Half Acre, Revolution.
Half Acre, Rev.
Pipe Works.
Yeah.
Even Mars puts out some stouts.
Yeah, Moore
puts out some really good stuff.
I mean, there's I actually came across a couple Little Beaver ones.
Yeah.
Not that, and I'm not saying that anything's bad about that. I don't think. I mean, I love that brewery, but I don't know that the stuff I've had is the stuff that I probably have marked is probably more out of love than anything else. Fantastic Voyage. That's a good one. A perennial one. Oh, here's another one that we haven't mentioned. Epic. Big Bad Baptist, Son of a Baptist. Those are.
Another one that I did some trading with the guy. He lives out in North Carolina, and he gets some stuff from Virginia. It's called Hardywood, and they have a gingerbread stout. And it's not overly sweet. It's got that gingerbread into it, and it's just really, really good stuff.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going through anything else. Yeah, it's funny. Funny you say that. a lot of these are very similar breweries. The one you're drinking, the Willet coffee. And man, they I tell you what though, you want to talk about good beer, good price point, an excellent stout. That's one right there.
Mm-hmm.
I found that one in 4-packs for like under $13 this year.
Yeah.
And it's just that's a dynamite price for a beer that you're talking 13%.
Yeah.
And it's not and it's good.
Yeah.
You know, because for
half drink it just because it's got high ABV on it.
For half the price you can buy their hop water.
Yes. Which I drink that at work now.
Oh man. I don't know. This is
Mother's Milk out of Missouri. They're another one that does some decent stuff.
Oh, was that
Mother's Brewing?
Mother? Yeah. I've actually been there. It's in Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's that. Have you ever been there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the old bread factory.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a cool place. Yeah, I'm looking through. Oh, Trillium finally popped up. The Vanilla PM Dawn. They will have to. We gotta do some Trillium. We gotta give some love to them. Feed Your Soul. There's so many good ones. Hey man, Noon Whistle. Dodging Traffic.
Oh, Noon Whistle. Yeah, they do some great stuff.
Yeah. Now they're not really. To me, they're more known for sours and other things. But again, another Illinois brewery with some top level stouts.
You know, a stout too that's done pretty well is Sierra Nevada stout. Was it Narwhal?
Yeah,
that's an older one that's gotten, you know, it may not have like the big flavor profiles that people love now, but it brought people into drinking beer.
Yeah, you know what? I've had Narwhal and it's been a long time.
And what Bigfoot is their the barley wine.
Yeah, Narwhal.
That's really good.
It's funny. The only time I've had that was 10 years ago. Isn't that funny? And you just made that, and I said that about 10 years ago is when I really started to dive into it, and you just said, yeah, that's the one that really got people into it. So there you go.
Another brewery out of St. Louis that's doing real good stuff is Second Shift. They have a spiritual delight series where they're putting coffee and maple and different barrels, and they always have something of theirs on tap, and it's a good place.
Second Shift does do good stuff. You've gotten me some of their stuff before. I've actually found that stuff. Second Shift's pretty easy to find if you go to like Cape, or they routinely they distribute pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it down here, but
there's another one in Chicago. It's Una E and Hubbard's Cave.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same brewery, again, kind of like shared and side projects.
Right.
But Hubbard's Cave is their stouts, and they do some like regular stuff, but then they do some killer like pastry stuff. They have a barrel-aged French toast that I absolutely love so much.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. We've mentioned that with the maple syrups and all that kind of flavor profile. That's very typical for a stout. You get a lot of those breakfast flavors,
Yeah.
So
it's interesting when sometimes you get a beer and it says it's barrel aged. Like one that really pops out to me is that Kentucky stout, Kentucky barrel aged stout. It's
the breakfast stout, yeah,
because they're using cheap stout or cheap barrels and they're only putting it in for a little bit of time.
Yeah,
and it's just like you could tell that it's just cheaply made, and you're like, nope.
Hey, I called Big Muddy out on that one time. I was up there, and they were talking about their bourbon barrel aged. I think it was like the Big Muddy Monster, or whatever that is. The bourbon barrel aged version of that. And I said, and I was sitting at the bar, and I said, "Why do your barrels say Lynchburg, Tennessee, if you're promoting this as bourbon barrel aged?" Because Jack Daniel's is not bourbon, so
no.
I'm not knocking Jack Daniel's here, but.
Right.
And apparently it was one of those deals where they had already named the beer and then got the barrels afterward. So now they did, I will say this, they did have some Four Roses and other good barrels in there. But they had a nice long line of JD barrels, and it was like, hey, wait a minute.
And then we ordered Trillium out of Boston, and we've had some really good luck with some of their stouts.
Yeah,
even their Thai banana stout.
Oh yeah, that's the best one. You know. Hey man, that's what got you.
Hey Tom,
I'm not doing
it. When this past year when I was out in Colorado, we went to a brewery and it was called Vision Quest, and we're like, how'd you come up with this name? And lo and behold, I found out that the guy was from our area. He worked at Scratch, and he worked at the one in Bloomington. I can't think of when that is, but he eventually made out to Denver, and him and another guy co-own the place, and he's like, you should probably just go out on a vision quest and figure out what kind of name you want for the beer for the brewery. Kidding. And he's like, he thought about it for a while. He's like, dude, that's the title. That's the name of our brewery, is Vision Quest.
Dude, I kind of feel like that was the quest I was set on when I was like, man. So we'll wrap this up here. Started off talking about how we're going to rename this show. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do a punny thing off the Noise BEErgade because it's what I guess it was Bob that came up with that. I don't know, but it was a really fun name for what we do in the main pod. Is it's just like goofing off, whatever. And I was like, well, I've got the perfect idea. I'll just pun off that. I'll call it the BEErgade. And it got progressively worse every single time. And I was like, I was stuck. I had a wall. But it was almost like you just said, like, I want to go on a vision quest. What's my vision quest? Club 409.
And you just know. It's perfect.
Oh, man. This has been fun. You got any last-minute stout notes before we wrap this one
up? Just keep trying different stuff. There might be some stuff you like, some things you don't. Go to beer tastings, buy beer, just trade with your friends, enjoy. And if you're at a brewery and you're a person that doesn't like, stout, just talk to the bartender, have him give you a sample, see if you like it or not. And that's all you can really do. And just keep going to different breweries and trying different shit, because you're going to find stuff you really like and stuff you're like, nope. So.
Yeah, that's good advice. We've all been there, man. I say we toast on episode 3, and maybe within more than a month we'll do episode 4, or no, less than a month. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, buddy.